In today's video, I wanted to do a little exercise where we test just how far you can go with overloading so that you can get used to how much overloading you have in a ship before a fight starts. So even for someone who has PvP experience and has overloaded in fights, they probably have never practiced overloading. They've probably never sat there and purposefully burnt out their modules to see how long it takes, to see how they can manipulate it, to see what different heats do, and to play with the mechanic and get familiar with it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get used to the mechanic of overloading and heat damage mechanics. So I'm at a customs office because it's the best thing I could think of that I can attack and not kill very quickly. It's in low sec, so I'm not going to get concorded. There's no guns, so I'm not going to get killed. It's all good. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this, but I'm going to overload. So I've got hail loaded, not that it matters. I'm not going to actually reinforce this customs office, not without like 12, 15 hours of shooting at it. And even then, I don't even think so. But just to see what happens. So what I did is I shift clicked. So whenever you want to prime it, like let's say I'm expecting someone to warp in on me, or I'm inside of a site in faction warfare, or on the edge of a bubble in nullsec, I can overload it before, or prime it to be overloaded before. I always prime my AAR no matter what if there's any chance of a fight happening. So now I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and start shooting at it. Don't care about my security status. Alright, so you can see the heat going up here. Damage is bleeding into my NOS. You see some damage here in my guns. I've got my guns separated with the NOS. The NOS is acting as a heat sink. You can see right there. Heat's climbing. So right now, what I would normally say is you're getting into the high levels of heat here, around 80%. Your modules are going to start taking a lot more damage. So typically, if I was in a fight, right about here is where I would stop overloading and let the modules cool off a bit. But we're going to see just how far we can go with this. And we're going to try to play chicken with burning out. So I'm going to go a little bit further. I don't care if I burn that out so much. Alright, I'm going to stop it right there. And we're at 50%. And our heat is dropping. Show it to me. It was probably about 92% before it started dropping. You can see it's dropping relatively quick. So interesting. So I was able to get it to 50% and stop it at 50%. Now keep in mind I do have thermodynamics level 5 on this character, and I recommend everyone get thermodynamics level 4 as quickly as possible if you're serious about PvP. Level 5 is something you can put off for a little while, but you eventually want to get it. So we see that we have 57% damage to our module here, and over here 55%. That one gets almost as much because even though it's not overheating, it's acting as a heat sink sitting in between the modules. So it's going to absorb a lot of that heat, but in the same process, it's going to allow me to overheat these for longer, the guns. Now those guns, let me look here, see how long they overload. I've actually got to pull this up. Got to redo my fit. You can't see what I'm doing right now. I'm in EFT. Alright, so my overload time on average for these guns should be 1:22 seconds on average. That should be, now that's not going to always be my overload time. That's going to be my overload time on average. Sometimes it'll go a little bit longer before I burn out, sometimes a little bit less. Alright, so I think you get the idea of what we're doing here. We're just trying to play with it. But let's go ahead and let's do it one more time. So let's, this is Planet 2, let's remember that. I'm going to go to the station and I'm going to dock up and I'm going to repair these modules. Let this heat come down a little bit. Heat does not reset when you dock. Like your shield hit points will reset, but the heat doesn't. I think capacitor also resets, but heat stays, which is reasonable. It's not like they're going to take it into the dock and then spray it down with coolant or something. Alright. Repaired. And just an important thing to note, as far as that heat sink in the middle of the modules, it used to be believed many years ago that, where is it? Is this planet 2? No. 4, 3, 2. It used to be believed that having a empty slot there was not as good as having an offline module. You could have an offline module and that would absorb more heat. Now, I don't know if that was ever actually true, but from my experience, it doesn't matter whether it's an online module, an offline module, or an empty slot, just so long as you have your guns separated. So let's say I was in a Hurricane or something that had 8 slots but only maybe 6 turrets. What I would do is I would separate those by doing 2 slots of guns, empty slot, 2 slots of guns, empty slot, 2 slots of guns. So you want to separate them as much as possible, and you always want to consider this outside slot here as an empty slot. So whatever you put on the end of the rack, like this AAR, is going to overheat better than something in the middle of the rack. So that's a good little tip. And that works in the middle, the medium slots or middle slots, medium power slots, and the low power slots. All right, so let's try this again, and we're going to play chicken with it. And we're going to see just how close we can get. Here we go. Shift click. Now I'm going to try to stop my guns. I'll let this burn out if it does, the NOS. I'm going to try to stop my guns as close to 100% as possible. And this is what I want you to do as practice, just to test and see just how much heat is there. Now, you're going to have a lot longer overload time in your guns than your micro warp drive. I can show that to you, too, in just a second. But that also depends a lot on how many guns you have. If you only have 2 guns, like a Firetail, you're going to overload for 2 minutes, maybe even 2.5 minutes or longer. If you have 8 guns, like, say, on a Catalyst or something like that, then overloading, or a Thrasher or Saber, overloading is not going to last nearly as long. You're only going to get 30-45 seconds. So the more things overloading, the more heat is generated. Let's get ready. We're at 100% heat over here, I think. Yep, so I'm going to start taking damage real fast. I got to keep my eye on it. Not yet. I think I got 2 more cycles. 1, 2. I should stop it there. I'm going to push it. I'm going to go 1 more. No, I'm going to keep pushing. Keep pushing. There. I think that's it. Didn't I turn it off? Oh, look at that. 92%. So see if you can beat my high score there. 92%. And 75%. I gotta make sure no one scans me down because I am sitting at a warpable. Alright, now let's try the medium slots. One important tip to keep in mind is that heat from the high doesn't bleed into the medium or to the low. Everything stays on its own rack. So that's a good tip. Also, for general information about overloading and how to use it best in a fight, I've made a video. It's been very popular. It's kind of old now, but it's one of my most popular videos about overloading. And the basic premise of that video is that, especially in frigates, but in pretty much everything, you should overload from the very beginning of the fight and not wait until the fight's already over to start overloading. You want to do as much damage at the beginning of the fight as you can. So let's see how far I can overload this medium, or this micro warp drive in the medium slot. Here we go. I'm going to try to stop this one too, but what I want you to notice is different things have different speeds of how fast they burn out. This micro warp drive, or micro warp drives in general, burn out a lot faster than guns do. So I am going very fast here, 5,900. So that's really quick, but this thing's going to start taking damage really quick. You see it, the heat's already up to 50%. This thing's already going, what, 30%? 36? See what we can do here. I'm going to play chicken with it also. We should be getting up to 50 there. There it is. Now I think I should stop. Yeah, I think I should stop right there. That might be too much. Nope, got it. All right, so 72%. Now, I made this video before. I messed up and had to make it again. But the last time I did it, I was able to hit 72% the first time, and then I tried to go a little bit further, and I burnt it out. So the best I could do on my micro warp drive was 72 before burning it out. With my guns here, so I'd rather have phase plasma in there. With my guns, I got 92. So that's it for this video. Basically, I want you to go out there, find something to shoot at. It could be shoot at your buddy's big ratting ship, shoot at a customs office, not in high sec. Set your safety to yellow so you don't do anything stupid that gets yourself killed. I know plenty of people that have done it. I may have tried to pod some people in the past when I shouldn't have, and that saved me. So always have your safety set to yellow. There's really no reason to set it to red unless you're ganking in high sec. But yeah, go out, test, and just feel out how far you can overload, because you don't know in a fight unless you've practiced before, unless you know that, okay, now it's past 50%, I'm in the danger zone, I have more than 50% damage on my guns. Whereas here on the micro warp drive, it doesn't work quite that way. And on the AAR, it's even more different, because the AAR you can overload forever. I mean, it overloads for a very, very long time. You can overload it from start to finish. All 8 charges there, overloaded the entire time, and you will not burn it out. You won't even come close to burning it out.